Who is King Tut? How old was he? How long did he rule? Who is King Tut? King Tut was a ruler of Egypt as a pharaoh for 10 years until his death at around 19 in 1324 BC. Even though they say he was notable for the religious reforms of his father, Pharaoh Akhenaten, Tut's legacy was largely negated by his successors. He wasn't really known in today's world until 1922, when Britain's Howard Carter chipped through the door and stepped in King Tut's tomb, which has stayed shut for over 3,000 years. The tomb's large hoard of artifacts and values meant accompanied the king into the life, revealed an incredible amount about royal life in ancient Egypt, and quickly made King Tut the world famous pharaoh. King Tut was buried in a tomb that was small relative to his status. His death may have occurred unexpectedly, before the complexion of a grander royal tomb, so that his mummy was buried in a tomb intended for someone else. Somebody assassinated him before they can make a tomb. This would preserve the observance of customary 17 days before the death and burial. We don't know who killed him to this day. Somebody got him good though, without him expecting that he was going to die anytime soon. The exposed outer coffin of King Tut, measuring 2.24 meters long with his head positioned to the west, rested on low leonine that was still intact, though certainly suffering from the strain of a ton and a quarter worth of weight it had endured over a prior 3,000 years. Fragments chipped from the toe of the coffin lid at the time of the burial, a crude attempt to rectify the design problem and allow the sarcophagus lid to sit properly, were found in the bottom of the sarcophagus. The chippings revealed that the coffin was made of cypress with a thin layer of gesso overlaid with gold foil. The layer of gold varied in thickness from heavy sheet for the face and the hands to the very finest gold leaf for the rather curious cat-like hard dress. The gold was covering also varied in color, so that, for example, the hands and the face were covered by a paler alloy than the remainder of the coffin, and housed where this gave an impression of the greenness of death. Afterwards, the second coffin was soon to be revealed as even more magnificent than the first. It measured 2.04 meters long, and it was constructed from a still identified wood covered as before with an overlay of gold foil. Here, the use of inlays were far more extensive than the Almost coffin, even though they had suffered from the presence of dampness within the tomb and showed a tendency to fall out. It is hard to imagine the amount of work which must have been put into making this coffin. Carved in wood, it was first overlaid with sheet gold on a thin layer of gesso. Then the narrow strips of gold placed on the edge were soldered to the base to form cells in which the small pieces of colored glass, fixed with cement, were laid. The technique is known as Egyptian collision work, but it was not true collision because the glass was already shaped before being put in the cells, and not put in the cells in powder form infused by heating. The last coffin measured about 1.88 meters in length. The metal was beaten from heavy gold sheet and varies in thickness from 0.25 to zero point 0.3 centimeters. In 1929, it was weighed, tipping the scales at 110.4 kilograms. This is about 1.7 US dollars in today's world. The image of King Tut that was sculpted on the coffin is today oddly. Due to the deteriorate of the white eyes, the pupils of the eyes are crazy, while the eyebrows and cosmetic lines are inlaid with lapis colored glass. The beard was worked separately and afterwards attached to the chin. It also inlaid with lapis colored glass. The headdress on the coffin is the Nemus, as was that of the second coffin. Though here the pleating in relief rather than indicated by inlays of colored glass. During the period of Egyptian history, males wore earrings only up until puberty. So when discovered, patches of gold fully concealed that the fact that the ears also cast separately were pierced. At the neck of the coffin were placed two heavy necklaces of disc beads made of red and yellow, gold, and dark blue, threaded on what looked like glass, bound with linen tape. Each of the strings had lotus flower terminals inlaid with carnelian, lapis, and turquoise glass. Necklaces of this kind were awarded by Egyptian kings to military commanders and high officials for distinctive services. Below these necklaces was the falcon collar, and the coffin itself again created separately from the lid. King Tut had a lot in his tomb, like gold mask, a golden throne, couches, royal robes, a golden shrine, perfume vases, sandals, whips, bowls, gloves, fruit baskets, painting games, model boats, and figurines were found in his tomb with necklace, golden pendants, caskets, a chest, stool, chairs, weapons, chariots, and statues were all found in King Tut's tomb. And King Tut wasn't important. We know he was assassinated. We know he was young and he was wealthy. What we don't know is who assassinated him. But King Tut does have the greatest casket. All gold with a lot of artifacts in ancient history of Egypt. The only thing special about King Tut's tomb to me was the fact that it had gone untouched by grave robbers. Tut's tomb therefore opened a spectacular amount of light on ancient Egyptian life like no other tomb previously found had done. The tomb body was actually smaller than most kings' tombs were. It was mostly heard of guests that it was going to be bigger, but it couldn't get built. So King Tut actually got placed in someone else's coffin. King Tut had three coffins that were built inside his stone sarcophagus. The first two coffins were made of wood, and the innermost was made of solid gold, weighing about 115 kilograms.